The Brits sure do hate free speech and free expression.
But you've alleged to say, speak English, or what's that effect?
Speak clearly.
Speak clearly.
No, the gentleman's partially deaf.
Yeah, he can speak clearly.
Yeah.
So I couldn't even hear him.
No, and that's fine, and that's why we've just come to speak, because potentially someone could perceive that as a hate crime.
Yep, that's the type of insanity that the people of the United K are dealing with right now, as there are some scholars and alleged thinkers, a part of the mainstream media establishment, that want to introduce the same kind of draconian thought police here in the United States, and they're trying to coerce it in very weird, manipulative ways. As I would say right now, we are seeing the four horsemen of the free speech apocalypse usher in their nasty-headed, big, egotistical selves into the discourse in some really fascinating, interesting ways that I think are absolutely worth criticizing here, as we have some big bombshell comments from Jordan Peterson, Douglas Murray, Ben Shapiro, and others that I think are really meant in to try to usher in this crazy type of scenario that's unfolding right now in our mainline society that I think absolutely deserves to be criticized, as we are now seeing the epitome and the conversation about the woke right be now more convoluted to essentially 2 points that I would boil them down to. One, a lot of these narrative controllers that want to control what you get to see and hear are vehemently against free speech. They represent neoconservative, pro-war, pro-Israeli values that are at odds against a new popular base of critical thinking and online right-wing influence that they are trying to fight as desperately as they can, as the first shots in this major war were shot by Douglas Murray against Dave Smith and Joe Rogan, who I believe responded to this man very poorly. As, of course, an argument broke out about being in war zones or not in war zones. I was in war zones too, but we now have a propaganda war zone tourism psychological operation ongoing with many theaters of war that are meant to, of course, portray larger establishment talking points and military-industrial complex assertions that now have been grandstanded as larger truths of authority that we must follow and be obedient and obey to, or else you are bad and wrong if you question and dare to look at history from a critical lens. Oh no, the travesty, the injustice, just like the deaf man in the United Kingdom that asked someone to speak clearly and now is being investigated of a hate crime. That's essentially what you want, what these people want to do, to institute a level of thought police against a discourse that they so desperately want to close the Overton window on as harshly and as frickin' fast as they can before, you know, those crazy radicals, those crazy people and their ideas and thoughts and expressions that get challenged. Oh, what if they get a foothold? Oh no, what if we debate ideas in a totally unconstrained way? Oh no, what's gonna happen? Here's what Douglas Murray had to say on the Bill Maher show that I think is the epitome of the arguments that we're seeing laid bare in front of us right now that, in my opinion, hold no merit.
It's always interesting to see what happens at the point of victory. What do you do with your victory? And if those people on the American right who are now in the ascendant, if they decide that they want to use their point of victory to, for instance, lie about the origins of the Russia-Ukraine war, or lie about the nature of Hamas, or
again, the Ukraine war is interesting since, of course, there's an orthodoxy that the mainstream media is following that ridiculously, overwhelmingly always says, Russia bad, Russia always bad, horrible. And again, I'm not a fan of Vladimir Putin. I'm not a fan of the Russian Empire. I'm Polish. But you have to understand here, what we're receiving in the corporate media is just absolute insane propaganda. We saw the corporate media overwhelmingly tell us, this is going to make the biggest difference. These Leopard tanks, these fighter jets, these javelins. And it's one thing after another saying Ukraine's going to beat them. Ukraine's going to defeat them. Gaslighting us, lying to us for pure propaganda purposes, as we find out, a lot of that wasn't true. A lot of the gaslighting, the manipulation, the low-level techniques of everything that happened here that developed all the way back, way before 2014, when U.S. aid money was directly going into the Ukrainian opposition party as a way to set up an alternative to the Russian system that they were so connected to, and fomenting dissent and fomenting the Maidan Revolution, which John McCain, Lindsey Graham, Pete Hegseth as well, cheerleaded for. Interesting how that fomented, as there was bullets and bombs flying all the way back in 2014. But no, Douglas Murray, you bring that up. Oh, if you now are gonna bring that up. Oh no, you don't fall into orthodoxies of thinking that the orcs are just doing meat wave attacks. You don't believe that the Russians are just being completely annihilated here. You're a problem. You're bad. And again, so much propaganda, so much disinformation, especially at war. There's propaganda on both sides, but let's be honest with ourselves. We never got a fair, honest perspective from the corporate media about this conflict in Ukraine here. Before playing this full clip and talking about, oh, how dare the right question the start of the Ukraine war. Clearly, Russia invaded Ukraine. There's a lot that build up to it, though. Okay. There's a lot with Kamala Harris going there, saying they're going to be joining NATO. There's a lot to, of course, the Donbass region, the conflict, the ethnic Russians living there that spoke the Russian language, that overwhelmingly were also seen. Again, we'll delve into it because he says more, just flabbergastingly stupid stuff. And before fully debunking it and addressing it, we wanted to tell you about LukeUnfiltered.com, where we do really cool, awesome stuff. We have a group chat in Telegram where I'm talking to people. The chat, as of late, has been really popping. And I've been talking to a lot of you great people that support me. You can support me for less than 20 cents a day. You click here, click the link in the description. Signing up, it's quick, it's easy, it's simple. You check your spam box, make sure that your credentials are in there. And then you get a plethora of really cool things. We are going to be doing meetups in New Hampshire, in Las Vegas, coming up soon. And if you want to join those nature hikes, those activities, we're doing a range day this May 4th here in South Florida. 10 spots are available. I think we now have 6 spots that are available. Limited spots are available if you're in South Florida or if you're doing a trip to South Florida. May 4th, we're doing a really awesome, incredible range day that is a lot of fun. Sign up for it, and I will see you there, and we will do some really fun, challenging exercises, and it truly is something that is a very unique experience that I can't recommend enough. Last time we had a couple of members come down, and those guys were really awesome, really fun, and I think you guys could participate in an activity that I very much so enjoy, hitting the range and learning some really advanced, cool, fun techniques. So go sign up to LukeUnfiltered.com right now, and hopefully I will see you there. Before the seats are all filled up here. Now, let's finish these comments here from Douglas Murray, because, again, I'm just like, wait, hold on. You can't question the start of the Ukraine-Russian war. You have to believe the orthodoxies that these evil orc Russians, just out of their senseless lust of conquest, sent meat waves after meat waves attacks that wanted to, of course, conquer the world many times over, and we're going to attack the United States, and therefore the brave Ukrainas and their fighter jets. What was the story about the fighter jet pilot that took down 30 Russian fighter jets? All that you have to believe it. You better believe it. You're a bad guy. You better believe the war propaganda. And I think this is the system's last gasp. This is the system's last fart, last fecal matter explosion onto the general discourse and discussion before they meet their eventual irrelevancy, just like the rest of neoconservative values, which Douglas Murray is a big supporter of.
Lie about the state of Israel, or
oh, you better not lie. Oh, you better not lie about Israel. Again, yes, there's some people that are just totally obsessed about that country. Those people are weird too. But the fact that they're somehow absent of criticism, the fact that people are acting like, oh yeah, they can't do anything wrong. Are you kidding me? There's a lot of Israelis that are not happy with the Israeli government. But again, you dare mention, look at him, you can see him seething, you can see him mad here, like, I can't believe it. There needs to be a matter of social hygiene. This elitist, fart-sniffing, little egotistical, self-important, self-righteous little punk.
lie about history. I mean, the reason I did this pushback was, I mean, you just have to. I mean, you just have to, in my
Oh, you have to push back against people coming to their own conclusions, hearing two sides of the story. You have to push back against actual legitimate forms of information that have been more accurate and correct in the corporate media. You have to push the corporate narrative down their throat because people dared to have a different opinion other than, of course, the orthodoxies that you wish to push on them.
my view. It's basic social hygiene. If you've got somebody who's coming along who pretends to be a historian, who then can always do the thing of saying, oh, I actually don't call myself a historian, it's just other people I allow to call me a historian. Like I'm not a car mechanic, but if I kept on being introduced as a car mechanic, I would say, oh, no, you got the wrong guy. So they don't mind it. They don't mind it. They have this slip out. These people that I was trying to call out on Joe's show, they are doing things like Hitler wasn't that much of an anti-Semite. Main problem in the 20th century was Winston Churchill.
And again, who is he hinting at? Who is he talking about here? Well, it's pretty clear he's talking about Tucker Carlson. It's pretty clear he's hitting against this new form of individuals that are able to host controversial podcasters and host conversations with them that, again, are out of the orthodoxies that you would never see on the corporate media. And whatever you might think about these different kind of historical kind of perspectives or opinions, giving us a different kind of insight than clearly what is a lot of propaganda. You look at history. History's written by the winners. Clearly, there's other versions of it. Clearly, there's other events there that are a little bit different than what we're being told that they were here. But I think things like the bombing of Dresden, things like the internment of the Japanese, I think that's an important bit of history that I think we should look at in a more kind of honest, clear-headed way, rather than, of course, bad guys, always bad, Russia, always bad, Germany, 1930s, bad, that's it. Well, no, let's have a little bit of a more nuanced perspective here. Now, clearly, yeah, there are some people that go a little bit woo-woo, and they start worshiping this kind of occultist, funny mustache guy that, by the way, was a vegetarian and an anti-smoking advocate. I mean, the guy frickin' was a huge mega statist, okay, on meth, all right? I don't understand how some people worship him. Some people are. Now, those individuals, I think, are a little bit different than the conversation that Tucker Carlson had with Daryl Cooper. As, of course, Daryl Cooper in this video is like, hey, I'm in no way. Daryl Cooper had to, of course, give us many kind of explanations before he gave his actual thought about this, saying, listen, no way am I fully supporting the funny mustache occultist dude, okay? Meth head. No way. I'm not supporting this meth head occultist. I'm not saying it, but let's look at the way the events unfolded. Here's another version of events from the historical record here that I think are worth kind of considering here. And Douglas Murray has a hissy fit here. How dare he have a different opinion?
Winston Churchill was the warmonger. Adolf Hitler wanted peace. And I just, look, it's a matter of social hygiene. Don't feed me this.
Yeah, don't feed me this ish. Don't look at it. How about that? We know you hate free speech. We know you hate self-expression. But when you start reacting to certain content, when you start looking at certain content, the algorithm feeds it to you. And the algorithms are very different depending on the social media algorithms, but the algorithms are pretty clear. Oh, this is your general interest. And if you're Douglas Murray, your general interest is going to be looking at this stuff because you're very interested in this stuff and you want to rebuke a lot of this stuff. So it's going to be shown to you. Now, to say that there's an issue with how people are shown information is such an elitist, draconian point of view and perspective here that automatically, in its face value, you should be like, hey, Douglas, we have a magic thing called the block button and a mute button. You don't want to see it? Guess what? You don't have to. You don't have to watch certain things. You don't have to view them. You don't have to agree with them. You could live your own unique life. Now, what I say right now, with all of the challenges of our society, that this is the main issue. People are learning about things from history, from different perspectives. Oh no. I would, of course, bring it back to the point of Ben Shapiro, who's another person that loves to toe the establishment line, that during key moments of crises always is in the side of the establishment, and someone who represents this kind of more mainline corporatist narrative structure that is really kind of allergic to the Tucker Carlsons and the Candace Owens of the world, that of course he vehemently is opposed to and is ideologically fighting through, of course, a lot of the comments and a lot of the kind of information war that is now brewing in the right, that is only becoming more and more of an issue here. But people get a different side of Winston Churchill here. They're not worshiping him as this great leader. Oh no. Why does it matter? Just like Ben Shapiro said this.
I don't care who killed JFK. I mean, I do, because it's really interesting. But I noticed that the calendar says 2025, and he was killed in 1963. And so my opinion about who killed JFK has about as much relevance as who killed William McKinley, or James Garfield, which is to say, not an enormous amount.
Yo, who cares? Who cares about what people... I mean, obviously, I'm being facetious here, but Ben Shapiro is another guy trying to hold the line. Another of his business friends, a part of the Daily Wire, is Jordan Peterson, who is adding on to this controversy, and along with Lindsay, James Lindsay, is a part of the kind of, in my opinion, the four horsemen of the free speech apocalypse that they're trying to usher in with their kind of salacious conversations that they're starting right now, talking about how people who disagree with him on foreign policy are, quote, mentally ill, and they are sociopaths and terrorists because they dare to say things like Christ is king. Now, obviously, there are some individuals that have a problematic way of thinking. And in this Fox News interview, after being on the Joe Rogan podcast, where he kind of hinted at who he was talking about here, it looks like he doubled down on this type of particular thinking, which Mike Cernovich warns is the type of thinking that in the Soviet Union ended up a lot of people in jail because that's what the state did. They said, oh, you're mentally ill? The Stasi is just going to arrest you for your own personal well-being because you're crazy. You're a sociopath. You're a terrorist. How dare you? As a lot of people are now very disappointed in Jordan Peterson, as this is his now fight that he has taken upon himself along with Douglas Murray and others who are now speaking out against the alleged woke right and the right-wing populist kind of alternative way of thinking that really is there to kind of address some controversial issues like they never have been before. Now, my argument for all of this is that you could say these guys are mentally ill. They're sociopaths. They're bad. We need social hygiene. We need to stop them from having a voice. We need to stop platforming them. I disagree. And the main reason I disagree is because if you look at any kind of radicalization is usually propelled through censorship. All right? You can name call people, you could attack people, but why don't you talk about the ideas? Why don't you debate those ideas? And you could grandstand and you could go on your little PR tours and be like, I was there, you were. I was there too. I was in Israel. I was in parts of Palestine. That again is someone that I'm going to be holding up against. I there, you weren't there. You don't know. No, I think we still should have a legitimate conversation with everyone involved here. And if you don't like bad ideas, you defeat them with good ideas. But it's pretty clear here that these people can't battle these ideas in an open, free, fair, free speech kind of system. And therefore, they're trying to undermine the system to be more favorable towards them, to codify their ideas that can't really stand the test of time or arguments against it. That right there is really, in my opinion, what's going on here. That's the argument. That's the conversation that needs to be had here, because bad ideas are dealt with good ideas. And people who are radicalized, they're the ones who are usually told they're crazy. Those are the ones who are censored. Those are the ones that go off into the dark corners of the internet and told, stay there. You don't have a voice. You don't have an opinion. We're not even going to debate you. We're not even going to talk to you. You sit there and you fester in your own sense of delusion. I would argue that a lot of these people are doing that themselves. But if you want to stop radicalization, you allow free speech, and you allow open platforming, and you allow all voices, and you clearly, in a respectful way, without name-calling, without saying, they're sociopaths, you say, no, I disagree with your idea. Here is my evidence to suggest why I think you are wrong. Here's my evidence proving why I think I am right. Let's have a civil discussion here, and let's actually sit down and talk about this in a fair and honest perspective, without ego or grandstanding or talking about the bad. This is so ridiculous. The bad ideas. No, you represent ideas that are different and contrary to my viewpoint. You're a sociopath. Come on, that's a lazy form of thinking, and I think even if you have fancy smancy language around it, I think your ideas are kind of bunk. The second you stop directly addressing them, and the more you make these kind of convoluted, larger generalizations that don't really pinpoint anything you're really trying to get out there to the general public other than passive aggressiveness. Sign up to LukeUnfiltered.com. Do something difficult with us May 4th and do something fun. Challenge yourself. May 4th, I think six seats are available. I got to double confirm that. LukeUnfiltered.com. Sign up right now. Link in the description. Stay tuned for more. We're going to be creating way more content for you all here exclusively on YouTube.com/WeAreChange.